started to record their second single, Purple Haze.
Well, I think that history will probably show that Jimmy's most memorable track is Purple Haze. Again, it came out bursting out of the chute, unprecedented. It came out in a season where lots of freaky music was coming out in the summer of love of '67, but there was something about Purple Haze that was just red hot, and it was a combination of freaky lyrics, of the power trio phenomenon of just bass and drums and this crazy guitar and these unidentifiable guitar tones.
When I first heard Purple Haze, it was like on my neighbor's phonograph next door to me, my father's house. And then my father said, "That sounds like Buster," Jimmy, right? And so, it took a couple of weeks before they met in the driveway, and my dad asked him, I said, "Hey, who is that?" And he said, "Well, there's this new guy called Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix Experience." And my dad, and that's when we said, "Oh, what? Can we hear it?" So they brought the album over, and that's when we first heard it.
We thought it was another Jimi Hendrix, and it happened to be our buddy, and we were just ecstatic when we first seen him on his first album. I mean, we were just, just excited. Everybody was excited, and we played it to death, But we seen this picture on the album. We said, "That's our buddy," with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, and I said, "Wow." And we were ecstatic, man. I mean, the whole neighborhood, everybody. That's our Jimi Hendrix, he's ours.
I didn't think that I had a brother that was really cool until I went on tour with him. Even after the first song came out, Purple Haze, because it was offbeat, it went dun, dun, dun. So we were dancing to disco, right? And so you hear this offbeat, and when he called me up, I said, "Jimmy, you missed your beat," or something like that. And, but I had missed a beat. I'm the one that had missed a beat, and I later on found out how to deal with it, and it was like good. It was groovy. It was new. It was different. It was unique.
As an album, our experience is it would be difficult to pick one or two particular tracks that stand out from the rest, just because as an album as a whole, it's an incredibly strong record and showcases the great variety of talents that Hendrix had as a guitar player, as a lead guitar player, as a rhythm guitar player, as a songwriter, as a lyricist, as a singer. And there's different styles of music and idioms that he is pulling from.
Hendrix had truly conquered England, and it was now time to return to America and convert its blossoming youth culture. In June 1967, The Experience played their first American concert at the Monterey Pop Festival in California.
Well, when Jimmy arrived on the scene, meaning for us in magazines, on TV, and the radio, there was no ignoring the guy. He was visually, beautiful and freaky. I don't think anybody had wilder clothes than Jimmy then or hence. Those hairdos that the boys were wearing in the band. And so he had the look, he had the sound, he had these unique songs that were unlike anybody else. And as a guitar player, he was unsurpassed.
And then when Jimmy came out with this stuff and this look and the way he was so, had so much charisma playing the guitar and singing, it blew everybody's mind. It blew my mind. I'm still tripping. But my father at the same time said, "Oh, okay, he'll be back here working in the yards with me and you, so we can make a good living for, have children and, make a good, hard-working life." He still didn't believe until he died, that Jimmy was who he was.
In a mismatch, Hendrix and The Experience began their first US tour, supporting the world's #1 teen idols, the Monkees.
In the media, they call him the Black Wild Man, and like he's not good for a family type, he's not family at all. He's like this crazy voodoo guy, and then they would put him with groups like the Monkees, So there was more controversy there. It was like a genius stroke of public relations. The mothers of whatever that was, the mothers of the Daughters of America refused to let their daughters go see the Monkees if Jimi Hendrix toured with them, you know?
Mike Jeffries thought that he'd scored a huge deal getting them on the tour. And of course it was completely the opposite. I mean, here we were, you know, Jimmy on stage playing in front of 12-year-old girls who had not a clue how to deal with this. I mean, just, you know. We didn't do that many gigs. We did, here in New York, we did, I think it was 3 nights at Forest Hill Stadium. And then we did, I believe, Atlanta. I can't remember. I know we had quite a bit of fun out of it because the Monkees were attempting to be the second Beatles, and so everything was almost copied. But of course it didn't quite come off, you know. But we had limousines laid on, you know, so it was a big deal. For the equipment, well, for the whole tour, they had rented a plane and they'd had it painted, and they had the Monkees logo painted on either side. And we had like 2 or 3 stewardesses, if that's what they're called, with uniforms, a little Monkees badge, and the pilot and the co-pilot, and it was really bizarre, you know. And we had continual entertainment from Dolan, Mickey Dolenz, who, you know, still to this day apparently is a great entertainer. And so it was quite interesting, but of course musically, sadly, it was a total disaster.
In May 1967, work began at Olympic Studios on Jimmy's second album, Axis Boulders Love.
The record company hated the record because they said, where's the big hit? Where's that big heavy rock song? The first record, it had Purple Haze and Foxy Lady, and you know, these powerful 2.5, 3-minute songs that could get played on the radio, and or Hey Joe, of course, which was the bigger single. Axis Boulders Love, as adventurous as the first record was, sonically and experimentation-wise in terms of the studio and sounds, Axis Boulders Love is more experimental in terms of Jimmy's own creativity, because he started to write these ballads, more ballads.
The lyrical imagery went wild now. I mean, Purple Haze was one thing, but now Jimmy just went wild with the science fiction imagery in his lyrics. The sonic textures, again, they started getting even more complicated and complex, and with studio trickery, say that in the good sense of the phrase, trickery. And so it was much more advanced and you know, scarier. It took a lot more to figure out, trying to listen to what are they trying to do on this album. And again, it was also loaded with particularly good compositions.
You had One Rainy Wish, and you have Little Wing, of course. You know, Little Wing is incredibly beautiful. It's 2 minutes and 28 seconds. It's incredibly short and brilliant, beautiful ballad. No one played guitar like